Welcome back to what's probably not going to be a very long ShopDog-Garage video on the 67 Camaro. The panel I ordered has come in. Haven't really looked at it much. It's got some spot welds here, spot welds there. I'm sure those are for brackets. Oh. Okay, let me back you guys up so you can see a little better. So, you can see just how, well, maybe you guys can see. It is super tweaked there. Okay, that shape's a little different than this one. I'm probably going to have to hammer that flat. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to do some hammer work here at the fold. But overall, it looks similar enough in shape, with the big difference being, oh, this has a bunch of extra holes in it too. Well, not sure about that. But this one has a nice V. And let me put these guys in plane. So if those guys are in plane with each other like that, you'll notice these aren't. See that V right there? Let's put these guys in plane with each other, if we even can. Then we come over here, and I bet they're not good. So that's one of the big problems. This one, because it's been hit, is twisted. In fact, look at the crush here and here. That's why we're going to try to make this aftermarket one work, especially since everything else is aftermarket. Now, this one happens to be from AMD. I wasn't quickly able to get the good mark piece to go with their stuff, but, you know, thought it was a $70 gamble I was willing to take. Especially, it's going to have to weld all that up and re-straighten it. Let's see if this is even close. Okay, for better or for worse, I'm going to give the immediate feedback I have on this AMD panel. Now remember, we have these good mark fenders and extensions, so I'm not saying that they're perfect either. So this reference may not actually be good. But one, I got shocked. You can see I'm going to have to do some work here as well as there. But at least this is, I mean, that's workable. There's a funny gap here that obviously is in the extension. So there's going to be some cut and weld up in the extension, and it pinches down here. And I don't know how well you guys can see it. Let me grab a light. And it's reasonable. I can work with that. That's not too bad. The next thing, off of our header panel, I've got our plumb bob, which happens to, you know, be an homage to Derek. And you can see it's actually not that far off. Let me turn it where you guys are. If I go with what they've got on the peak here, you can see, you know, it's probably as close as the factory ever got. Not going to complain there. We're going to come over here. And then we're going to remember that we've had to do a lot of work on this fender already, but this is significant. So the next time this is off, I'm actually going to compare this edge to the factory one, because I need to find out, am I reworking this down or working this up? I have a feeling it's working this up. Hopefully you guys can see that. Other than that, it's actually not terrible. Once again, there's a little bit of gapping here, but that, I mean, just loosening these bolts and doing a little massaging will close that. Particularly since we're pinched back here. I know it doesn't look it here, but I got a weird suspicion that we're making a cut down in here somewhere and lifting. You know, like I said, remember, we've had to do extensive modifications to this fender, and it looks like we're not done. But I'm going to want to compare that height with the factory one just to make sure that, you know, this isn't twisted and just goes up, which I don't believe it does. because all the rest of the lines seem to be decent. So that's where that is. That, it does get a little close to the frame horn here as well. Let me see on this side. Yeah, well, it's also close on this side as well. You know, it's almost touching, but I bet it'd be hard pressed to get paper in there. But that's in my wheelhouse. You would think to yourself, well, I'll just move the frame horn. But the bumper used to fit. I don't know that I want to do that. Instead, I would just relieve it in here a little bit, and we'll go from there. Although at some point, I am going to have to hang the bumper. I mean, now that we're squaring things up, it is quite possible that all of that was shifted at some point, because the car was tweaked where this corner was back, this corner was up, and the whole car was that way. And it was like that when I bought it. And it turns out it's not the kind of thing you notice. If you're not running strings and stuff, you have no idea that the car isn't perfectly square. As long as it drives square, who notices? But it's causing me troubles. And I want it to be more square. So there is a good chance that these actually need moved anyway, or rebent, or massaged around. They adjust quite a bit, unfortunately. Yeah, that's where we're at right now. I'm not going to do a ton tonight, so this video is going to be a multi-day. But yeah, that was actually a good idea, hanging that plumb bob. That helped me make sure which way things had to go. But overall, here, I'll be right back. I'm going to take you off the stand. Okay, so let's get over here. Let's look at how fitment's starting to come together overall, knowing there's still some work there. You know, we recall we have these lines we've got to work, but this was one of the areas we were worried about. The factory, not even close to the factory piece with this aftermarket fender. But this, I'm pretty confident I'd be able to bolt, well, not bolt, it's screwing these little tiny screws, some wheel arch moldings in there. Originally I was going to use the ones I had, but honestly, I'm probably going to buy the ones from Goodmark. I bet they fit better. So there is that. That only two of mine are GM anyway. This car got rubbed a little bit by an old man who had a stroke years and years ago. That's not what tweaked the car though. But yeah, so down here, that's not bad. That's, you know, I can make that all work. And then you get to here. So I got a feeling it's in here, unfortunately. And then when we try to line the headlight up, it's actually, yeah, I can make the headlight work. You know, this is pretty centered. The other thing is, if you, well, you guys, I don't know if I showed you, when I tried to hang that, I could hang one and the other one came way out here, or I could hang that one and the other one went way inside because it's twisted like a pretzel. And then over this side, let me grab my light. You can see that's well within what I can work. I might be able to grind and slot that a little bit, make that come out. Definitely should be able to get it to go down a little bit. So, yeah, I think I can work that. Here, you can see, I've obviously got to tighten that up a little bit inside. Or I've actually what might be happening is I might be under tension here. I may need to loosen all four of those and slide it on the inner just a little bit. This is why I want all of this fit before I put the hood on. I don't want to monkey with the hood twice. You can see on this side, the bolts line up pretty reasonable. And then, of course, we've got that shaping we did. And body line down here. So that's not terrible. I think that's all within the skills I'm learning here. So trying to minimize the amount of mud that will go into it, because I already know that I hate sanding. I just hate it. It's not fun. And unfortunately, this light, I can get that bolt hole. One of these is very tweaked from the other fender. The one fender was an RS fender, the other was not, and then there's these adapters that people buy, and, well, I mean, you can see obviously some things were cut and torched, you know, but where do you draw the line on buying more stuff, and when do you actually get to drive your car? I think that's the big question. Having some difficulties. If I get either of these to line up, I either hit this guy or hit this guy with this door. So that's awesome. When I get that about as good as we're going to get, you can see I get close here. I don't know that close is the problem though. So something's fishy going on here. Let's take a little wander. Now this is the passenger size fender. This is the one that has the bolt-in bracket. You can see that. Huh. You know what it doesn't have? Anything hanging down. How very strange. Let's... Okay. Let's go look at this one real quick. Yeah, those brackets are quite a ways in. Let's walk up here. Alright, let's go grab a tiny tape. So what are those brackets? What? Ah, come on, tiny tape. See, the main bracket is almost 3 inches in. What is that? And that? What the heck's going on here? Did they literally just take a standard fender, weld the adapter in, and call it an RS fender? See how this piece is peeled in? Because remember, this one's the actual RS fender. Okay. So that is flat. And down here, that looks cut. Let me come over here. Okay, let's compare the same fender. Let's grab a light. I don't think the yo-yo's what I care about right now. So there's the flat. That and that and that. They don't belong on this fender. Look, this one doesn't have whatever that is. I don't have over here. See, because there's a mounting point there. And there's a mounting point there, but it's blocked by that. Oh, come on, good Mark. You are terrible. I just had no idea that a name brand like that was so awful. And it's the next morning. I brought out one of my shirts to remind everybody, aftermarket garbage is garbage. So, all right. Let's put a couple hours in today and see if we can figure anything out. Two of the things I need to figure out first is how I want to attack this measurement here. So need to figure out, you know, because I got a suspicion that this part is right and this part is wrong. So I got to figure out how to actually compare that. And then something even worse happens, how to make it, you know. Luckily, all it has to do is kind of hit that. That's the other thing I need to do, though. Once I get these bent or cut off, I need to get a bezel and set in there so I can make sure the shape is going to be good. See, every time you do something, there's 9 other things you got to do. So, yeah, I think that's where we're going to start. The other thing to note, and then you can see this one is pretty modified, is I think I'll see if I can find a way to mop these up. They're quite heavy and fragile in this case. You know, that thing's a little fragile. So I'd love to find a way to, I probably would have to throw an extension on here, but I'd love to have that bolted on just to make sure the way that transition should look. Although, I think I've already got a pretty good example here. Oh, here's something I just thought of. Let me pull that a little bit. If I go straight up from that point, okay, about 8 3/8. If I go, wow, it doesn't even look like it's in the same spot. 8 3/4. But if it was 8 3/8, it would be right. Yeah, we already know. We already know. Oh, bummer. So, all right. Well, that actually was the quickest way to answer the fact that I'm going to have to cut that and lift this up. That's going to be loads of fun. The worst part is I've already reshaped this a little. Okay, let's get to it. Well, this took a few minutes, but you can see we've got her set for the bracket and bolted in. Remember, this one had weird cuts in it. Not sure why. But here you can see how that's supposed to look. And you can see they're definitely in plane. You know, and you can see that's curled over because some of that will be visible. I know we've discussed that before when I got a little weld happy and fixed all that I have to undo now. And you can see it follows that contour very well right up to the height. The other thing, of course, is I'm going to care about that square hole and that round hole. Everything else can go. I wish this fender was in better shape. You know, it might not be too late yet to just order a patch panel. Of course, is that any better? So anyway, we'll continue down this road, but you can see that that should follow that contour very, very closely. And I'm just going to leave this set up for a while. It's not hurting anything, although it did trap neighbor Jeff's chair. I don't know if this will work, but I've marked major details on this piece of tape. And now I'm going to go place that same piece of tape on this valance and just make sure, even though I'm absolutely certain this is the issue, gotta verify that. Okay, I decided to do a little sanity checking as well. Now I'm not pulling the header, I guess is what I've been calling the upper valance. Apparently it's the header. But this will show the concept. So those bolt holes go there, those bolt holes go there. This lines up here. You know, this appears to be about the right gap. So that makes sense. And then remember, I've still got to cut these ears off here. But I can kind of look at the bucket. Also, these buckets are worse than I remember. But you can see the shape roughly there. You know, I can't slide it back because Goodmark can't build things. When I come to this side, and I take this, oh God, I can't believe how beat up these are. Bucket. Okay. Oh, yeah. You see it there. The other thing is my little tape thing did work. I will say AMD got pretty close. They didn't quite stamp this where it goes. It's off just a little. But that's quite an improvement. So I have to raise and rechange this radius here. I'm not looking forward to it. Gonna have to cut that out and cut that out and cut this out. And then I think what I will do is then pull this off and actually try to work on the car if I can. And then just use this as my shaper. We'll see. We'll see if that's even possible. I may still have to pull the fender back off the car. But if it can stay with the shape as it is while I'm working, or at least tacking it up and getting it where it needs to be, that would be great. I would very much appreciate it if that would work. This is just, What do you do? What do you do? Okay, so for now, I've just got one screw locating them to kind of show the shaping. And you're going to see this bucket's not perfect. In fact, it's a lot out. Not sure that it's something I can live with. We'll see, because that's even worse than the factory did. And on this side, you know, same problem, except I put tape on here, except for that. That's the problem we have down here, which tells you this problem goes all the way back to here. I don't even know. I don't know what to do there. I gotta think on that. You know, this is roughly the fit you're expecting, although this has been a painted car, so who knows what they did, because normally it's this corner that doesn't fit. You can see the grill doesn't fit too well, but that's actually very, very typical in these cars. You know, you can see this is that part we're talking about having to line up. And right here, see, I expect it to at least kind of follow that curve. So, it's like this one on Volo. They don't really show you a lot, which was kind of a bummer. It's hard to get a good picture because nobody wants to show anything like that. But, you know, you go and you... Let's see, what do you got for us, boy? Really? No pictures? Okay, well, that's not awesome. Okay, here you can see, you know, the front grille, it fits close-ish. But you can see the bucket, at least this part of the bucket lines up. Now, that lip there, of course, doesn't, but that's fine. Yeah, so there's a lot of work to do in here yet. Bummer. And of course, unfortunately, they didn't really fit these fenders well either. You can see that's kind of where we're at. Bummer. I was expecting a slightly better fit. And then these are raised like that because the other piece goes under there and locates on that pin. And this is why none of that really lines up. It really, I'm pretty certain it was all an afterthought. So if you really jam it in there, you can see it doesn't really line up. And the funny thing is, it's another one of those things on this car nobody really pays attention to. Huh. Honestly, expected a better fit on this side. So I even have it screwed down. You can see there's a pretty significant gap there. So, okay. Well, it tells me I got some work to do because I'm not happy with that. Okay, I've got it actually mounted here now. A couple things. One, not sure I'm happy with that, but I don't know that that's not how the factory did. This is that corner I'm talking about. That does not normally fit. So that I expect. This is a little wider than I would like, but I don't know that there's going to be a ton I can do about that. And then this will line up like that. And then I don't have that bolted in. I just have it closed to kind of show the concept here. Remember, these only go so far, you know. Yeah, I got one sitting up there. You can kind of see, you know, they only go over so far. So I'm going to pop the little retainers in this one. Okay, there it is. And get that one mounted as well, just so I can see how bad this corner actually is. I got a feeling it's pretty bad. In fact, I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to get it to mount. We'll see. That's a maybe. Okay, now here is where things are going to get real interesting. So I have that loosely mounted in its mounting hole, and you'll see how that looks. If we force it, we still cannot get these to line up. I mean, that's the only way I can do it, is obviously just basically removing it. So if I get that even close, and obviously that's also a little bent, but you know, it is what it is. So what's going to happen is that bracket is going to have to be moved this way when all this happens. I gotta really plan that move. Of course, this is the stuff you're paying for when you got a body man doing it. So I'm starting to reshape, but it's looking like I'm gonna have no choice. I'm gonna have to pop these spot welds. So let's get this guy out of here, and I think I'll take the grinder and highlight those a little bit. Yeah, there's one here, one here, one here, and we'll just get them popped apart. Okay, we're getting closer to shape. You know, there's some work here, but this is also bent, so hard to put a lot of stock there. Also, this corner isn't quite right, but I'm not worried about that. What I'm really working on, so I've got that bracket popped loose. I've got the headlight mounted reasonable enough. You know, it needs to come up, but it's that I'm not goofing with that right now. What I'm trying to find is this, and you can see I've moved it a lot. Obviously I've got those spot welds pulled, so the light is just holding the bracket where the bracket needs to be for now, which of course the screw's under a little tension, which is not terribly uncommon with these. May need to bend this out a little bit, and yes, I'm gonna have to replace these. I feel terrible about it, but they're in way worse shape than I realized. You can see we're getting this profile a little better, and all I'm doing mostly is using this as my reference. You know, you take that, and then I'm just light push. Move it again, light push. And it is moving it. Now, I did have to obviously slice the end here, and I'm probably going to have to slice here to place it where the ridge needs to be and fold it in. But I think in a little bit, I should probably put this lower valence back on, just to make sure that we're not getting too out of hand. So I'm starting to run out of patience. Let's see how far we get today. With some of the changes I've made, this valence is under a little more tension now, so we're going to have to relieve that. And you can see I've got some gapping, and that's under tension. I've loosened the bolts for this lower, so we'll play with that later. But you can see we're already making quite the improvement. Got a bit to go here. The hard part being, does this need to go in or does this need to come out? I mean, we're realistically expecting it's the fender, but you can see where it started, because remember I sliced that, and you can see where we're at now. The hard part is doing this without affecting this body line. Need this to still look correct. You know, I guess it doesn't have to be correct, it just has to look correct. So it's kind of where we're at. It's just a little here and a little here. Not looking forward to rebuilding all of that. Yeah, you can see I got the spot welds drilled out, and I've got that held in place. I think it needs one more bend, because boy, that was not as easy to get in as I'd like. So I think this needs to come that way a little. Wait, let me think. No, I can't. It needs to come down and over a little, which means this whole thing probably needs to bend out more. Oh, I gotta be careful. I got a scratch here. Oh, that's just junk. Okay. So you can see I've had to do a lot. I also had to remove that bit that was stamped out here. That was easy to get at. Not. So, because the bucket wouldn't sit in. So we're getting there, but it sure looks like this has to come out to meet this, because this is about as good as that line's getting. You can see where, well, we're not touching the frame horn, but it's close-ish. But on this side, it's close over here. So I still think the frame horns are tweaked, but because they're slotted and the bumper can slide to side, I don't know that it matters. I don't think I want to play a shimming or bending game here. So I think we'll just leave those be for now. They're not touching. And you can see this is pretty close here. I think this one won't be too bad. I mean, obviously we're going to be filling in here, but this one I don't think will be that bad. Also going to have to grind that down on the valence a little bit. But you can see this is why we have to have that nice smooth inside, because you get this issue. So we want that. And remember, before it wasn't. It was just kind of folded and then turned, so it would have looked awful. So, gotta decide which is the right way here. Okay, wife and I are running to town. We're gonna have ourselves a little date today. So this is kind of where we're at. I think I do have to do a little work here. Look how much more that sticks out than that side when everybody's pinned. So we may be pulling this one in a little bit here. Pretty happy with it over here because I like this reveal. So I'll be back. Well, to you it'll be instantly. To me it'll be tomorrow. Please like, comment, and subscribe. ShopDog would appreciate it.